Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Matt here. Today I wanted to take a look at the MasterPiece Arms Vanquish chassis, specifically the one for the CZ457 here. When I sort of debuted this new rifle setup with my new custom Desert Precision Gunworks 457 barreled action dropped into the new 457 Vanquish for MasterPiece Arms, I had a lot of interest and people seemed to want to see the chassis more up close in detail. So I'm going to do that for you guys in this video. MasterPiece Arms implemented a very unique feature in their 457 Vanquish in the way of this mag release here on the side of the chassis. So if I depress this button, you can see the magazine falls free. It works really nicely. And I know people want to see how that works up close. So we'll start right away showing you the mag release and how that works. Then I'll basically just go over the general rifle setup quickly and do a very quick note on the compatibility of weights, specifically for the 457 version of the Vanquish chassis that I think is important to know. I did want to mention something quickly. This screw here I did add. When you receive the Vanquish, the magazine release comes flat like this, so you don't really have a great tactile indication of where you need to press. You can still depress the release enough to drop the mag free, but MPA did drill and tap a hole there. I can't remember the thread size right now, so I'll put it on the screen, but I added just a simple socket cap screw as a sort of tactile indicator of where I need to press to release the magazine, and that worked really well. I have a feeling they're going to maybe offer accessories in the future for some sort of button here. But again, I just added that myself and it actually works really well. I used this mag release during a stage at a match for the first time on Sunday. There's a 14-round stage, so I did have to do a mag change on the clock and it worked really well. And with a little bit of practice, you can get really good at it and be just as quick as any other REM 700 platform. So that is the first thing I wanted to note. Also, the magazine release does come from the side, which means it does go through a specialized Magwell attached to the bottom of this action. And Phil from MasterPiece Arms did a video showing the Vanquish, and he installed the barreled action into the chassis before installing the magazine release mechanism. But you can depress the lever enough where the front portion will clear the Magwell, so you don't have to disassemble the mag release portion every time you remove or install your barreled action, which is a nice touch. So I'll go ahead and remove the barreled action now on video. Just change the, there we go. Find the front action screw here. I'll loosen that. Actually, I'll just loosen that all the way. And it's still being held tight by the rear action screw in the chassis. Right there. So right now, if I were to just try and lift the barreled action straight out of the chassis, the mag release would actually sort of hook onto the Magwell. But if you depress it enough all the way, you'll be able to lift the barreled action all the way out, as you can see there. And again, same for reinstalling it. If you try to just drop it in right now, it's going to hit the mag release. But if you depress it enough, everything will fall into place. It's a little bit difficult right now. There you go. You can see that there. So you don't actually have to remove this every time you want to take your barreled action in and out. Looking from the top view of the chassis here, you can see depressing the magazine release and its actuation. It's pivoting around this pin right here. And I'll go ahead and remove that so you can see as well. All right, removing that pin, you can see it's a fairly substantial steel pin that's threaded on the top. Again, that is what the entire lever hinges upon. And then this is the magazine release itself. So there's the return spring, the socket cap screw that I added, and this is the part that hooks onto the magazine. Again, here's the assembly that pivots on this pin here, and it sort of goes through the chassis as such. And a regular CZ Magwell has a completely closed side, as you can see here. And this mag release is trying to go through the Magwell, so that wouldn't work. So MPA ships the Vanquish chassis with a proprietary Magwell that has a cutout at the front to allow the mag latch to travel through the Magwell and capture that magazine. I'm not a big fan of the Magwell that MPA ships out because it appears to be a 3D printed material and it's soft enough where you can flex it. You can see the one I received cracked in transportation. It would actually function the way it is here, but I wasn't too keen on it. There is good news though, because Modicam Custom Rifles is coming out with an aluminum upgrade for the Vanquish. I don't know if they're going to ship it out with the chassis going forward, but I will be receiving one from Modicam shortly. I think that'll be the last piece to really make the Vanquish absolutely perfect for the 457. What I did in the meantime, because if you 457 users are well aware of, it's not uncommon for the factory polymer magwells to crack. If you have your magazine seated in here and you push up into something too hard, it's not uncommon at all for the factory magwells to crack somewhere. So it's a really common upgrade to put on the aluminum magwells, as you see here. So again, Modicam's coming out with that. I'm excited to try it. But for now, I simply modified a factory magwell because it seems like it's a little bit more of a robust material than the 3D print one. So I simply dremeled an appropriate sized hole so that the mag latch can fit through that, no issues. And again, I've been running it like this ever since I've received the chassis with no issues. Again, my magwell looks a bit janky here because I dremeled it myself, but I did want to show you something that's very important to note about the Vanquish mag release as well. This mag release doesn't actually catch onto the lip, what would normally be the mag latch on the magazine here. This lip is not actually what this mag release interfaces with. This was designed to capture the little sort of cutout or indent in the CZ mags here. So it actually catches onto that surface there. It'll come in from the side and capture that like so. But it works really well. I had a few concerns before I received the chassis that because it comes in from the side, it might shift the magazine or there might be some movement if they didn't get the dimensions perfect. But MasterPiece Arms seemingly did get everything perfect because the mags in the Vanquish are rock solid. I've had 100% feeding with them and it works really well. Again, as you saw, I can hit the mag release and it drops free, but when it's seated into the gun, it's perfect. So that's a good thing. I'm not sure why they designed it into this socket here, but clearly that means you won't be able to use other magazines without modification in the Vanquish. Not even the CZ steel mags you'll be able to use. It's only the polymer ones out of the box that you'll be able to use in the Vanquish. Now that said, I know shooters that were testing the Vanquish that run the L3I mags or the NDR mags, and they did modify them themselves to work and function well in the MasterPiece Arms Vanquish. But again, the only thing out of the box that it technically is compatible with is the polymer CZ mags, which isn't a big deal for me because that's all I was planning to run anyway. I have my own CZ mags with extensions on them that I run. And I also want to note, I spoke to Modicam today and he said that he was set up to modify those third-party aluminum mags in order to work with the Vanquish mag release. So if that's something you're interested in doing, but you don't want to do it yourself, contact Modicam because it seems like he's able to do that for you. All right, so I figured I'd show the best method that I've found to reinstall the barreled action, because I've had this thing in and out of the chassis many times, playing with the internal weights and getting the rifle all set up. And this is how I found that it works well for me. So I first make sure, well, first off, make sure the little recoil lug is in the chassis, the little CZ recoil lug. There's a little slot for that. And then I like to prepare the rear action screw on the driver here so I can easily find the hole it goes into. So I'll keep that on the driver. It's a little bit more finicky than a REM 700, but it's really not too bad. Again, the mag release, if you try to just drop this in, it'll sort of sit onto the magwell, which won't work well. So you just gotta make sure, I first line up the slot on the back here that fits onto the recoil lug. I'll line that up first because it's an easy indexing point. And then once I see it's basically above where it needs to be, I will depress the mag release and seat the barreled action into the chassis. Again, you got to make sure you push this all the way so it clears it, and it's clearing it there. And then once it's there, I'll depress the back of the action to hold it down, and I'll come straight up the bottom side of the chassis with the action screw. And then I have it like 80% threaded in. So I'll come at the front of the chassis with the front action screw and thread that 80% in. So it's still a little bit loose, but the screws are holding it. Now, as is good practice, I'll set the rifle up on the buttstock to seat everything into the chassis onto like the recoil lug properly. Give it a little tap, make sure that everything's centered, and then I'll go ahead and torque down my action screws. So pretty straightforward. Again, I'm trying to work behind a tripod, so this usually goes a bit faster, but I'll snug the first one up, the front one up, I mean, snug the rear one up, and then I'll torque them down. And I torque my CZ action screws to around 35 inch-pounds. I don't have my torque driver on me right now, so I'll do that afterwards. But then it's reinstalled, and again, as you saw there, you don't need to remove the mag release in order to do that. So it's really not too bad. It's a little bit more involved because you got to line everything up and then depress this while it drops in, but it's really not that bad at all. I've done it numerous times. All right, hopefully that was a good look at the magazine release. I know it might have been quite in detail, but a lot of people want to see that. I wanted to touch on the rest of the chassis here because MasterPiece Arms has now brought to market a truly competition-specific chassis for the 457. There are other great chassis for the 457 out there, but I find a lot of companies think of the CZ as a little bit more of a casual option for competitors. So a lot of their chassis offerings have sort of like a toned down feature set, whereas MasterPiece Arms has really stepped up and basically taken their flagship chassis and just made it for the 457 with the same feature set, which is awesome. So it's a really good choice for serious competitors that want to run the 457 action. And it has the exact same compatibility with all their external features, the same weights, the same fore-end covers. You have the magazine plates here, or the Magwell plates here that you can use as well. You can see I have the mag blocker installed. All the same grip options with your thumb rests and finger supports. You have the same buttstock, so of course you have the adjustable bag rider, which I'm a huge fan of. So all that externally is the same. The only caveat is the internal weights. So the way the inlet is cut for the CZ457, if you look at how the action sits, it's actually lower in the chassis than the REM 700s, which means the normal Gray Ops internal weights that are made for the Vanquish will contact these barrels that are, this one here is a 1.18 diameter. It will contact those Gray Ops internal weights. So I contacted Edwin over at Vanquish Designs, and he cut me some custom internal weights so I can still weigh the chassis the way I want it. So that's the only caveat, but everything else is compatible. I don't know if MPA or Gray Ops is going to come out with internal weights specific to the CZ Vanquish chassis. I can't speak for those companies, but because I was in a little bit of a rush for them, because I really wanted to get this thing set up for competition the way is ideal for me. Again, I contacted Vanquish Designs and he cut me the internal weights that fit perfectly. You just have to make sure basically that they're flat bars that don't come up above the sort of ridges or pocket supports inside the forend, and you won't have any issues with barrel contact. So that's what I did, and I'll put a little B-roll of those internal weights. But everything else is set up the exact same as I have my other Vanquishes, which makes this thing a really good competition rifle setup for me. You can see, hopefully you can see it on this side. I have the Crush It timer mount from no sponsor, And that allows me to, a little bit awkward to show you, but while I'm grasping the gun here in a normal grip with my shooting hand on the grip, I can start and stop the Crush It timer. So that's a mount from no sponsor, and it works really well. I have that on all my Vanquishes now, so really nice that I can have it on this one as well. That's basically it. I will be really running this thing hard and putting it through its paces in the next few weeks and matches. And as you can see, it's also in raw aluminum right now because it will be Cerakoted in the near future as well. So anyway, hopefully that was a helpful video. And if you do have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. I'll see you guys in the next video.